At its zenith, it was famously called the empire on which the sun never sets. Spanning nearly a quarter of the Earth's land area and governing almost a quarter of its population, the British Empire was the largest and most powerful empire in human history. Its story is one of ambition, innovation, conquest, and profound, often painful, transformation. How did a small island nation achieve such global dominance? And what is its lasting legacy? Today, we embark on a journey through the epic rise and eventual fall of the British Empire. Our story begins not with grand fleets, but with tentative steps into a newly connected world. In the late 16th century, England, watching its rivals Spain and Portugal grow rich from their overseas colonies, sought its own piece of the pie. Early attempts, like the lost colony of Roanoke, were fraught with failure, but the desire for wealth and influence was relentless. The founding of Jamestown in Virginia in 1607 marked the first permanent English settlement in the Americas. This was the seed from which a vast empire would grow, driven by a thirst for resources like tobacco, sugar, and, tragically, the exploitation of enslaved African people. Simultaneously, on the other side of the world, another engine of empire was revving up. The East India Company, chartered in 1600, was a private corporation with its own army and immense political power. Initially focused on trade, it gradually wove itself into the fabric of the Indian subcontinent. By exploiting local rivalries and using its military might, the company transitioned from a trading partner to a ruling power. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 was a pivotal moment, securing the company's dominance in Bengal and setting the stage for the eventual British Raj, the direct rule of India by the British Crown. This jewel in the crown would become the empire's most valuable possession. The 18th century was a period of intense competition, primarily with France. This global rivalry played out across continents, from North America to India. The 7 Years' War, ending in 1763, was a decisive victory for Britain, cementing its position as the world's leading colonial power. But victory brought new challenges. The cost of war and the administration of a sprawling territory led to new taxes on the American colonies. Cries of "no taxation without representation" echoed across the Atlantic, culminating in the American Revolution. The loss of the 13 colonies was a stunning blow, a lesson that empires are not invincible. This setback, however, did not hold Britain's imperial ambition. Instead, it triggered a swing to the east. Attention shifted towards Asia, the Pacific, and Africa. Captain James Cook's voyages mapped vast new territories, leading to the colonization of Australia, initially as a penal colony. In Africa, Britain's involvement deepened throughout the 19th century, moving from coastal trading posts to a full-blown scramble for Africa, carving up the continent with other European powers. And a self-proclaimed civilizing mission, the belief in a duty to spread Western culture, religion, and governance. The 19th century was the empire's golden age, the Pax Britannica. The Industrial Revolution had transformed Britain into the workshop of the world, and the Royal Navy, unmatched in its power, policed the global sea lanes. This naval supremacy protected trade routes that funneled raw materials from the colonies to British factories and shipped finished goods back out to a captive global market. London became the financial capital of the world. This era saw the empire reach its greatest territorial extent, a vast and complex network of dominions, colonies, protectorates, and mandates, all administered in different ways, but ultimately answering to London. Life within this vast empire was a story of immense diversity and deep inequality. For the British administrators, soldiers, and settlers, it could be a life of opportunity and adventure. But for the vast majority of the colonized peoples, it was an experience of subjugation. Local economies were often reoriented to serve Britain's needs, disrupting traditional ways of life. While the British introduced infrastructure like railways, legal systems, and modern education in some areas, these were often designed to facilitate colonial rule and resource extraction. The imposition of foreign rule created a rigid social hierarchy, with the British at the top, leading to widespread resentment and resistance. The seeds of the empire's decline were sown at the moment of its greatest triumph. The turn of the 20th century saw the rise of new industrial powers like Germany and the United States, challenging Britain's economic dominance. More importantly, nationalist movements were gaining strength across the colonies. Inspired by ideas of self-determination, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi in India began to mobilize mass movements demanding independence. They challenged not just British rule, but the very moral foundation of empire. The two world wars dealt the final, fatal blows. Britain emerged victorious, but was economically exhausted and militarily overstretched. The wars shattered the myth of European invincibility. The promise of freedom, for which so many colonial subjects had fought, made it impossible to deny them that same freedom. The tide had turned. The post-war world was dominated by two new superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, both ideologically opposed to old-style colonialism. The wind of change, as Prime Minister Harold Macmillan called it, swept across the globe. The independence of India and Pakistan in 1947 was a landmark event, triggering a domino effect. Over the next 2 decades, one colony after another achieved independence, a process that was sometimes peaceful but often violent and chaotic. The Suez Crisis of 1956, when Britain was forced into a humiliating withdrawal from Egypt, starkly revealed its diminished status on the world stage. The formal end of the empire is often marked by the handover of Hong Kong to China in 1997, the last major colonial territory. Today, the legacy of the British Empire is all around us, and it is deeply contested. It shaped the modern world, drawing the borders of many nations, spreading the English language, and establishing global systems of trade and law. Many nations in the Commonwealth of Nations maintain ties forged during the imperial era. Yet, this legacy is also one of economic exploitation, political subjugation, and cultural disruption. The scars of colonialism continue to influence politics, economies, and societies around the world. Understanding the British Empire is not about glorifying or condemning it, but about grappling with its complex, contradictory, and enduring impact on the world we all inhabit today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of history's most significant chapters. If you found this documentary insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. See you next time.